Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, everybody. Good evening to you all. Welcome to the Louisiana Small Business Development Center live Facebook Q&A discussion with one of our specialty business consultants. Certainly excited to share these resources and information that we have for you all on this evening. Tune in, stay tuned in with us. If you know an existing small business owner, if you know someone who's interested in starting a business, tag them in the comments. Tag yourself. Let us know who's here. We'd love to know who you are that's tuned in. I see a few of you are coming in with us. Go ahead and comment your name, even the name of your business, and let us know what's going on with you. We want to talk about business finance and business accounting this evening. So excited to share with you our guest specialty consultant this evening. A ton and wealth of knowledge, especially during this time, obviously on the heels of the global pandemic that is the coronavirus. Fortunately, we're seeing some reprieve. Fortunately, we're seeing businesses being opened again and at higher capacity percentages. And so just want to continue to let you guys know that the Louisiana Small Business Development Center, we are here for you right here in the trenches. All right, Evan Boudreaux, Director for St. Mary Parish Economic Development. Evan, certainly glad to see you. Thank you for tuning in with us this evening. We have awesome information to share with the folks there in St. Mary Parish Economic Development. Evan, if you would do me a favor, share this post, share this live stream right now, because the people in your community, the small business owners, those who are fostering economic development, they don't need to miss what we're getting ready to talk about. It is game-changing information that can help so many small business owners and entrepreneurs not only just understand finance and accounting, but get a true grip on it and manage the resources, manage what they have at a higher clip. So it's so important what we're doing this evening. Certainly just want to take a few minutes and give a shout out to our stakeholders. This is not possible without the United States Small Business Administration. Certainly we thank U.S. congressmen and women, specifically for Louisiana, but all across the nation, that allow small business development centers to exist as a no-cost resource for small businesses and entrepreneurs in the state of Louisiana and nationwide. But guess what? Here in Louisiana, we care so much about entrepreneurship, care so much about small business growth and development, that we don't just get support from the federal level, the national level at SBA and through our U.S. congressmen and women, but also through Louisiana Economic Development. And so we certainly thank Secretary Don Pearson, Governor John Bel Edwards, and Secretary Don Pearson of Louisiana Economic Development for continuing to support the mission, not just through talk, not just through sharing of the information, but through funding. And so thank SBA, we thank LED for being our federal and state stakeholders. But also, guess what? There's more. Louisiana is so encouraged and so supportive of small businesses and entrepreneurship in this state that also our institutions of higher education play a strong role in what we have going here as well at the Small Business Development Center. We are strategically located throughout the state of Louisiana to bring small business help to you at absolutely no cost. What does that look like? It means that wherever there is an institution of higher education, it's an extremely high chance that there is a small business development center there. Ask me about Northeast Louisiana, I'll tell you University of Louisiana Monroe. But even more so, the host institution of the entire network is in Monroe, Louisiana. Not only do we have a service center in Monroe, Louisiana, but Louisiana Delta Community College is the state office, is the state network host. And so thank Louisiana Delta Community College for their support, for their contribution, for their leadership and vision in hosting this statewide network. The University of Louisiana Monroe, they are a service center there that services the 15 parishes of Northeast Louisiana, all the way from Union Parish to the West and East Carroll parishes, all the way down to Concordia Parish. And so certainly we are within 90 minutes of you at all times. Go over to Shreveport, Bossier. We are there at Southern University, Shreveport of Louisiana. So excited to serve Louisiana's other side, Shreveport, Bossier, our third largest market. And that couldn't be possible without our HBCU, the Southern University of Shreveport. Then come on down to Central Louisiana. We haven't left out Simla. We're there, thankful to Louisiana State University at Alexandria, in collaboration there also with the Central Louisiana Chamber of Commerce. And so we have reached there from Central Louisiana up to Northwest Louisiana. Now we got to talk about that I-10, I-12. We run the entire I-10, I-12 corridor from McNeese State University there in Lake Charles, University of Louisiana Lafayette and Lafayette, Southern University Baton Rouge. Oh, you heard Southern University twice. Yes, the Southern University system has two institutions that are allowing us to operate service centers out of: Southern University Shreveport and Southern University Baton Rouge. They're in the capital region. Also, LSU, yes, our flagship institution. You heard we just talked about LSU Alexandria, but also LSU Baton Rouge, our flagship institution of the state of Louisiana. We have a service center there as well. Two service centers in the city, in the capital region of Baton Rouge. Then let's go ahead and drop down in the bayou and look at Nickel State University there in Thibodaux, serving the Homer Thibodaux area. Then come on just north of I-12, north of I-10, and jump on I-12 and look at what we're doing on the North Shore, Southeastern Louisiana University. And then finally serving that greater New Orleans region, Xavier University of Louisiana. We have two HBCU systems and institutions supporting small businesses: Southern University of Baton Rouge and Southern University of Shreveport. But as well, so we have that Southern University system, but also Xavier University there in New Orleans. And so it takes so many people to come together, so many organizations and institutions, agencies that come together to provide you, small business owners of Louisiana, no cost business help. That's everything from helping you with your business plan, everything from helping you with your financial projections, your market research, how to hire somebody, how to fire somebody, how to trademark, international trade, e-commerce, cybersecurity. We touch all these areas at absolutely no cost for the small business owners in the state of Louisiana. So we're so excited about it. So excited about it. You guys continue hanging tight with us. Thank you. We're just 10 minutes after, and we're excited. We're excited to have this live Q&A discussion on finance and accounting with one of our specialty business consultants, as part funded by the CARES Act that Congress signed last year under the leadership of President Donald Trump. Now, you all are familiar with that CARES Act. And so this is part of our CARES Act initiative. We're so excited to bring some more information and resource to you all. Hang tight. It's coming. I know. Continue to like, continue to share. I see Evan Bujo is here. Who else is here? Tag, comment your name. Let us know who's here. Comment. Let me see your name here. Thank you, Evan, for already sharing and tagging what we're talking about this evening. We'll be getting started here in just a few more minutes. In just a few more minutes. Good evening to you all. Good evening to you all. Hey, Dominique, how you doing? How you doing? Good to see you, Dominique. Good to see you, Dominique. We'll be getting started. Hey, Carla, how you doing? How you doing, Carla? Carla is our state director. Carla is our state director. We're so excited to have Carla on with us this evening. Thank you, Carla, for all you do as the visionary, as the leader of our network. Certainly glad to see you on tuned in with us as well this evening. I think we're having some technical difficulties with Mr. Ed. Hang on with us for just another moment. Sorry about that, you guys. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. Mr. Ed got some technical difficulties, but we're ironing it out as we speak. He'll be on here in just a minute. Thank you for your patience. Stay locked in with us. Thank you again for your patience. Thank you again for your time this evening. You do not want to miss what we have. And actually, I like the anticipation. I like to see that you all are still tuned in with us. Hang on just another minute or two. Here comes Mr. Ed in just a second. Here we come. As promised, there he is. Mr. Ed Dauphin, forgive us again for our delay and the anticipation buildup. I hope you guys are just as excited and eager as we are. Mr. Ed Dauphin is our specialty business consultant under the CARES Act, specifically here to help small business owners who are impacted by COVID-19 get a better grip and understanding on accounting and finance during this time. Mr. Ed, welcome. Thank you for tuning in with us this evening, Mr. Ed. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll get started here in just a minute.
Thank you, Duran. I apologize to the group for being late today. Just some technical difficulties here. I couldn't seem to work my way around it, but we finally got connected. I'm a practicing consultant. I've been doing small business consulting primarily as a part-time chief financial officer for small and medium-sized businesses for the last 22 years, and for 26 years before that, I was a banker. So had a decent amount of experience working around small business owners and realizing what their issues are and struggles, and that's really what my practice is built around, is helping them make better informations with better accounting systems and better information systems, and helping them reach their goals.
Awesome. Sounds like you have a ton of experience, ton of real-time examples that you can share with the group this evening. We're going to go ahead and get started. It's 15 after. Again, Carla Holland, our state director, for tuning in with us as well. Evan Boudreaux, those of you continue to comment, continue to share this conversation that we're going to have. Mr. Ed, let's just go ahead and dive right on in
Sure.
because in this COVID environment where businesses were shut down and reduced capacity and had to scale significantly down, a lot of resources were strained and challenged. But then we see economic injury disaster loan comes available. We see PPP round 1, PPP round 2 comes available. Personally, we start seeing stimulus checks roll around. But we still see our business community still struggling, right, to overcome some of these resource challenges. First off, what do you recommend a small business owner do, or how should they best allocate their limited resources that they've come across?
Well, no doubt, it's been a significant challenge on all fronts. I mean, the planning that we did in the past for catastrophic events this far exceeded what we thought we'd ever have to really stand against. So it's caused me to rethink some of the things I've been practicing with clients as far as capital planning was concerned. But in the resource area, you've got both internal resources and you've got external resources. The internal ones are the things you're very familiar with: the cash you have, your ability to borrow funds, your team that you have working with you. And those are the things you have to hold dearly and obviously be very frugal with when you're in a reduced revenue stage like so many of us are. We've got, many businesses we've seen. A particularly good example was the restaurant industry that had to really pivot very early in the process because they literally were quite shut down, and many of them did outdoor dining, or they did curbside service and things, or delivery service and those kind of things. So a pretty drastic change in their business model. But that was just, taking what resources they had and putting them to the best possible use they could to try to at least save a percentage of the revenue stream that they had before. So it obviously many of them were hurt by it, and it wasn't an overall solution, but it was certainly better than just sitting down waiting for the world to change. We kept thinking it was going to be in July and August, and here we are in April, and we're still having reduced seating in many areas and reduced capacities. The external resources, one of the best ones you have is a small business development centers right there in your community. There are counselors there that can certainly help you work through some of these issues, put you in contact with bankers or other lenders that might be out there, and work through with your planning processes and kind of guide you in that process. The CARES Act team that's been assembled, I'm one of 6 different CARES Act consultants. We each all have our own discipline that we're working through, and we're all available to you at no cost because the CARES Act, a federally funded program, has been money's been distributed to each of the states, and in this case, the state office for the Small Business Development Center is managing the distribution of those funds, and the consultants are being paid from there in order to provide free services to small business owners with a variety of things. In my area, it's accounting, finance, financial performance, QuickBooks accounting, and things of that nature. And then we've got cybersecurity and a couple of other areas that are being human resources and other areas like that that you're providing services on. Sydney's doing websites and things of that nature. So pretty good resources out there, and the money that's come in the form of the EDIL loans and the PPP loans has certainly been an absolute necessity. It's not enough, but it's certainly better than not getting anything at all. And I think in some cases with my clients, I saw it literally saved the business. I mean, they would not have survived had they not gotten those PPP loans for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on, and I definitely want to even add to some of the things that you touched on, and I love how you broke it up from internal resources and then those external resources. Fortunately, what we've been able to do at the Small Business Development Center, to your point, is provide people like yourself who specialize in working in these specific areas, these specialty areas of a business. Sydney Jackson will build a website for small business owners right now at no cost, where businesses have had to jump online. Yourself will train small business owners right now on how to utilize QuickBooks and the accounting and the basics of all of that. That's so valuable right now, especially at a time to where, let's say, a business has been operating for 10 years, 15 years. That individual has never seen a global pandemic. That business may have always thrived without having to utilize technology at these levels. And then all of a sudden, the pandemic forces them to have to jump here, but with no training. There's absolutely no training. There is no, hey, let's, ease you in it day by day. It was flip the switch right now. If you're not technology savvy, then there's no way you're going to survive in this now technology dependent environment. And so I see our state director, Carla Holland, just put in the chat, and even Heidi Malonson, who's one of our center directors. Great resources. Your tax dollars at work. I'm a taxpayer. Ed, you're a taxpayer. All of us are taxpayers. But to see them working like this, we typically always see, handouts and, oh, here's free money, free money, free money. But we never really know how to best use that money. And so right out the gate, I'm so glad that you address how do we best utilize these resources, internal and external.
Right. There's no doubt that, I've said this before the COVID lockdown took place, that small business owners that are in their early stage, or they're having some difficulty with profitability, all the more important that their accounting system be not only up to date and accurate, but properly structured so they get good information out of it. Because when you're in a narrow profit margin, you don't have very much room to fail, and you need to know what's happening. If there are changes taking place in the performance, you need to be able to see that on time and accurately. And if if you're making a lot of money in a business, well, you got a cushion there, and you can sort of tolerate, although it's not really, at the end of the day, not truly acceptable, but you have a cushion that'll sort of cushion you against any issues that might come up for a while. But when you're really at the narrow end of that profit margin, you need to know exactly where you are all the time, and it's so critical. And I think that so many businesses seem to need some help in that area of getting their books properly structured so that they give good information, and then learning some of the best practices on how to get a good set of books together, and then learn how to use the tool as a management tool, and not just look at an accounting system as a necessary evil that has to be done in order to generate a tax return, because that's the second reason for it. The first reason is management information and giving the owners a good basis upon which to make decisions.
Certainly in business. And let's go ahead and give that shout out. Thank you, Jennifer Zimmerman. Obviously, one of the clients you must have recently worked with, small business owners you recently worked with. Appreciate the help that you gave her recently. And the best part about it is, I'm sure you gave her a wealth of knowledge and information, actionable steps, but again, at no cost. And so we're just, again, so thankful for the CARES Act and the funding that come through our Congress. Ed, let's go ahead and dive a little deeper because as a small business owner, it's one of the number one things that you talk to any small business, any size business, and the first thing they're going to tell you their challenge is capital, money. How can I get more money? So question is, uh, should a business owner like a Jennifer Zimmerman, and I know it may be case by case, but just in general, I guess I'll ask, should their initial step or initial desire be to seek out investors to help with capital?
Generally, my answer to that would be no, and I got a couple of reasons for it. One is that an investor is certainly going to want to have a piece of the action, and usually it's a pretty significant piece of the action. And in many small businesses, when you just get started, even in the first several years of that, there's you'll be doing well to be able to generate an income for yourself, much less having to give 25, 30, or 40% of the business to somebody else at the same time. So it's and the other thing that's pretty important about that too is that when you're a startup business like that, you don't truly have a track record to attract an investor to begin with. I mean, how do they know that you're going to be able to be successful at it? Now, there's some exceptions to that. There are people who have run other businesses and have great contacts in the industry, and they already know what they're doing, and they can step out there and maybe take some of the risk out of the situation where an investor might be interested in getting in. We've certainly seen that down here in South Louisiana in the oil field sector where service companies have been started with an outside investor capital. But the general answer to the small business owner who's just trying to get things going on their own is outside investors typically not a good deal. Now, it could be your wealthy aunt who's willing to invest in you, but they do that for more family reasons than they do for good investment reasons. And you have to be careful about that because obviously, if you lose your aunt's money, she may not be quite so happy with you after it's all said and done. So, but I think you got to have a business plan that works on its own, and that you they call it bootstrapping. That's starting up at the bottom and working your way and being very conservative with your capital and reinvesting it, the profits. And I think it's a thing to be considerate of is that if you're leaving a job where you've had a steady income from working for somebody else and you're now going into that, you need to get your lifestyle expenses down because often you can't live the same lifestyle you had before. And so there typically needs to be some adjustments there so that you can tolerate living on less income because such a great percentage of what income you do generate has to be plowed back into the business again. You can't take it to continue that lifestyle that you might have had before. And that usually has to go on for several years. So you're investing in your own business by reducing your cost of living before you ever step into that small business to begin with.
That's a good point, Ed, and I actually never even thought about that or even heard it in that context. When you talk about financial planning, whether you're a startup or even an existing business, making sure that your personal lifestyle is also
Right.
planned in that business financial plan. Ed, certainly appreciate that. What other best practices can you share with us this evening for the business financially?
Well, I think it's certainly we have to have people who have capacity there that can sell things or make things. Generally, they're going to have some vertical strengths in those areas where they're very good at sales or they're very good at being creative or whatever. But you need to round yourself out to an extent because you're responsible for the entire thing. So the understanding financial statements and understanding what they mean and how you can use them as management tools so you can get support in those areas. And you can surround yourself with people, but at the end of the day, it all falls on your shoulders to be understanding of what cash flow is and how you manage cash flow and what are the practices necessary to ensure the retention of capital in these companies so you don't overextend yourself. I mean, many small businesses are what in banking terms is called being over leveraged. They borrow considerably more money than their capacity would necessarily be. Uh, and if they're good about it, they can obviously work their way through that, and many small businesses have. But many of them fail because of that they have over leveraged themselves and they don't manage well through that process. So it comes back to understanding the financial side of the business, knowing where the risks are, and doing a good job of trying to mitigate those risks to the extent possible. It's got the customer component to it, being very good about treating your customers properly and trying to deliver some significant value to the marketplace, because I firmly believe that small business owners should not be trying to position themselves as a low-cost provider in the marketplace. They need to be the value provider in the marketplace, and you may well be charging more than the big box store down the street or even other larger vendors. But the reason you retain customers is because of the personal attention you can give them, the quality of services that you offer, and the follow-up, and all those high touch type things that are necessary to retain those customers, and but get paid fairly for it as well. Don't give the shop away. And that's a mistake a lot of small business owners make, is thinking they can buy market share by being the low cost provider in the marketplace. I think all you've really accomplished by doing that is teaching your customers that you'll sell lower than anybody else, and they get used to that and they demand it. So it's hard to ever migrate from being the low cost provider in the marketplace to charging more, because then it looks like you're gouging them at that point. So I don't have a very fond opinion of low cost providers in the small business sector. It's a very difficult thing to pull off and win at.
Wow, wow, that is great advice. And I see even Jennifer Zimmerman says she hear you loud and clear from you on that, Ed. I'm not sure what, but everything you just said the last couple minutes, man, was spot on. I see Heidi's commenting as well, adding well said. And again, as a marketing guy, as the director of marketing communication for Louisiana Small Business Development Center, once you establish that brand, that reputation of being that, when you decide to not be that, your customers feel like you've been dishonest, that you betrayed them. So going back to
the conversation with your client, excuse me, Duran, but the conversation with your client, if it's about price, you have to change that discussion to value. And you better be good about talking about your value, and your value better be real. But you do not have a face-to-face conversation with price. You talk about value. The reason I charge this is because, and you demonstrate that in the most visible fashion that you can. But to just be having that discount conversation where, well, how much can you knock off of this product for me? At some point you have to recognize that that's not your customer. That's Walmart's customer. They belong down the street because they don't see value. All they see is a low price. And your job is to find customers who appreciate the value that you deliver to the marketplace, and don't give that value away. Charge for it.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the questions that I see and hear all the time from even startup entrepreneurs, existing business owners, people just aren't sure. Entrepreneurs, business owners aren't sure what that value is. What is the value of my service? What is the value of my product? And how do I factor in time? You have any experience or wisdom towards that, Ed?
Yeah, well, I mean, actually, I have a discussion point that I have in some of my webinars, and I certainly have had with a number of my clients, and it's what I call the pressure points. You will have clients. You need to understand your clients. You need to spend time out with your clients. You need to be on their site, not just on your site, and having discussions with them. And what you're interested in figuring out is where I said pressure points, excuse me, I meant pain points. You need to find out where their pain points are. And those pain points are an opportunity to figure out how to deliver value. Now, you may not be in a position to solve every one of their pain points, and you likely are not, but you may be in a position to find ways to solve one or two of those little pain points by the way you deliver your product, the timeliness you deliver your product, or the way that it looks. I mean, I've had a client where we worked this out, and we found out that the client that they had was the industry in general that he was competing in had a 6 to 8 week delivery on their product, and the client told us that 6 to 8 week delivery caused significant problems with them, because they had pressure coming from another direction that wanted that sooner than that. And so we set about to study why in the world is it taking us 6 to 8 weeks to do this. And we figured out how to cut it in half. And then, so we were able to go back to those clients and deliver that product in 3 weeks. Now, we did some stuff internally to make that happen, but what it created at that point was an appreciation for the value we delivered. It creates a stickiness, if you will, meaning that the client will stay with you because they know if they leave you, they won't get that anywhere else. at least not for a while. And so they don't want to break those bonds or those value connections that you have with those clients. And so that finding pain points and finding a way to deliver that internally, and again, it's a value transfer, so you don't give it away, you charge for it, but you have to get it to where they value what it is you're doing for them, and you figure out what those are by having discussions with your clients. And I guess in this discussion I'm talking about the type of clients where you have recurring transactions with them over and over again, and not just one-off sales. I mean, if it's a one-off sale type customer, what I'm saying doesn't really apply. But if you're doing business with that client throughout the year on multiple transactions, then you have an opportunity to deliver more value there. You just have to know what it is that customer values, and then charge for it when you figure out what it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. And I see Jennifer is having a good time with this. I see Carla as well. Excellent point. Talk about that value. Jennifer Zimmerman says it's necessary to be open to outside input and change. Then she comes back and says she found a new buzzword: value connections. Awesome, Jennifer.
Right.
I hope you've shared this, Jennifer. I can see you're engaging in this. I know it can help somebody. And then just want to remind everybody who's tuned in and who will tune in later on, all of this information and access to people like Mr. Ed is available through Louisiana Small Business Development Center at absolutely no cost. Go to our website right now, click register for consulting. Whatever your issue is in terms of finance, accounting, you will be in a room or in a virtual room with people like Mr. Ed. But we also look at cybersecurity. We look at HR. We look at e-commerce. We look at your website. Mm-hmm. Looking at the whole area of your business aspect. Mr. Ed, we're going to keep diving in this finance and accounting conversation. We jumped into value, and we talked about even best practices for the business financially. We even talked about what it takes to even be successful in determining your value. Let's go back a little bit, and we touched on QuickBooks, but let's really dive a little deeper in QuickBooks and just talk about having that financial accounting system or financial management system and the importance of it, regardless of what level your business is. How important is having a QuickBooks accounting system?
Well, the first thing is QuickBooks is far and away the number one accounting system for small business. I don't know what second place is, but it's way behind at this point. There's not really I mean, there are other options out there, but it's gotten to the point now where it's such a dominant program out there that there a lot of people that understand it. Certainly most CPA firms now have gotten accustomed to it. They were really kind of against it when they first came out, but they've realized the value of the product now, and they accept it much better. And any small business that has any amount of volume, and I would say if your sales are over $50,000 a year, you probably need an accounting system to keep up with it. And it sort of goes back to what I said before. You can collect that data in such a fashion using a spreadsheet or even a paper system in order to do your tax return. But that's not the real reason to do the accounting. The real reason is to be able to look at what your performance is, and it gives you the ability to drill down into the accounting system and figure out what changes you could make. And if you made those changes, what would be the results of that? And then you can actually make the change and see the result of it in the accounting system. So it's a performance-based. I look at it from a performance perspective, and I think the data that gets collected by the transactions that get recorded is extremely valuable. And the more accurate it is, and the more time we have where we can do what's called comparative analysis, and that's just looking at the first quarter of one year compared to the first quarter of the previous year, and maybe the first quarter of the year before, and then we can look at the comparisons between there and see what sort of changes we've been able to do, not just in terms of growth, but the relationship of the gross profit margin or the overhead percentages. What percentage of revenue is the labor that we have? What percentage are the products that we sell? What margins are we managing to do on those? You can't get that very easily at all out of any kind of a spreadsheet system or a paper-based system. It would take you 10 or 12 times longer to be able to pull that out of there, and then you wouldn't be able to replicate it very easily. But these accounting systems now are pretty well structured. I think in some cases they oversell them as being too easy because it does take, they need to be set up properly by somebody that understands generating good information for the owners as being the primary driver behind how those accounting systems get set up. Because if all your sales get dumped into one bucket and all you know is your total sales is X, but you have 3 different income streams, you should be able to look at those income streams separately and not as just one lump sum. And the same thing to go with the direct cost associated with those income streams. We should be tracking that separately so we can look at the margins on those products and determine, because they're not all the same. And I've found cases that many times where we go in and we may have 3 income streams and we find out that one of them is a dominant stream in terms of volume, but it's the weakest one in terms of the margin. And then we may have a smaller one that's actually knocking the heck out of it, but it's making so much it's covering up for the sins of the big one. And that's not at all uncommon in businesses. But when you bring it to the attention of the owners, then they realize, well, wow, I've been sort of giving this one away, and that's why my sales are so high, but I'm not making any money on it. And maybe we may need to make some adjustments there in the pricing or in the cost of those products in order to get the margin at a better level. So the accounting system is just a critical system. And I run into a lot of business owners that just look at it as a necessary evil. They really don't want anything to do with it. They just see it as, I've got to do that in order to generate a tax return. And they don't ever pay any attention to it. And honestly, don't really know. I can ask them questions, and they don't really have any idea where they are. They're just flying blind. And can you be successful? Yeah, I guess so. But you need a lot of luck in the process too.
Right. Yeah, we're going to shift gears. I see Mr. Evan Boudreaux is still engaged with us. He's asked a question. He asked, where should a small business owner focus their financial resources? We talked about the limited resources. We talked about some other financial opportunities, but where should they focus those financial resources? On marketing, technology, on their physical location, etc., assuming they're in a stable situation during COVID-19, understanding the environment that has transpired due to this global pandemic. Where should a small business owner focus those resources?
That was a good question. And it's really if you think about it, that's the foundational question for doing planning. I mean, when we step into any kind of a strategic plan for a business owner, I mean, it's trying to figure out who are we, where are we going, what do we want to be known as? So that's the mission statement and the vision statement. And then what resources do we have, and I generally start those planning processes with what's called a SWOT analysis. SWOT is an acronym for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And we go through that and try to identify all the strengths and all the weaknesses and the opportunities that exist and the threats that exist. Strengths and weaknesses are internal. You have control over them. Opportunities and threats are external. They can affect you, but you can't necessarily control them. And so we walk through that process. But honestly, having done this dozens of times, the weaknesses is the biggest, you get the biggest bang for your buck out of focusing on where your weaknesses are. So in his question, if your weaknesses with you don't have very good marketing, or you don't have a very good location or facilities or whatever, then you identify those weaknesses, and then you figure out what can I do about that, and with the resources I have, how can I best improve, whether it's marketing or the physical facility. I mean, in some cases, I've had clients where they had a situation with a physical facility, and they sort of were, not happy about it, a little bit embarrassed maybe about it or whatever, and they just kind of let it go. And I walk in there and I said, well, but damn, you can clean the walls, you can paint this place. It doesn't cost you that much to paint the inside of a building, or in one case, just paint the outside and clean it up. And it made a significant difference. So that's a small example, but I'm just saying it's about identification of weaknesses and what are you going to do? With what you have to work with, what's the biggest bang for your buck moving forward? And it's not necessarily just one thing. It may be that you spread those resources, or you kick up the marketing program somewhat. There's so much being done now in that area with social media and those types of things that does cost a little bit of money, but it's nowhere near what it was when it was all radio and TV and paper collateral that was being sent out to clients, mailed out, and those kinds of things, where it was quite a bit more expensive. And then there's building the team up and making sure you've got the right product line and those sorts. So I'm not trying to evade the question because it depends on the particular situation for that business, but it starts with analysis of where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are. You're always going to try to focus and maintain the strengths that you have, but your greatest improvement is going to come from fixing the weaknesses or mitigating those weaknesses and doing things with it. And generally, I found about 75% of the plan would come from trying to do something about the weaknesses in the company. So I hope that gives him a reasonable response, but that's the way I look at it.
No, I think you answered it well, and I even see he commented and said it would help our owners to know what's working and what isn't. It helps them to set up for future success. And so by you reminding them, or maybe even informing some of them that to look at that SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. What are the things that you're struggling with, but that you can control? Rally around that, invest in that, put some resources into that, and move that from your weakness quadrant to your strength quadrant, and say, okay, we just made a leap for the better today. We just invested for the better today. So I think what
and we had recent discussions at our webinars that I had about pivoting your business model. If what you're doing is not working because of your restrictions, whatever, you can pivot, just as we said a while back about the restaurant owners pivoting. And it doesn't mean you change your whole business model. It just means the first thing is you look at the resources you have, the physical facilities, the equipment, the team that you have, the customer base you have, the vendors that you have. Those are all potential resources. And how can I redeploy those, or at least redeploy a portion of them in some area that I can get some traction that I'm not able to get in my current situation? And that's sort of the definition of how you start to figuring out what pivots are possible for you and what you can get away with. But you're always going to start with the resources you already have at hand, and you try to maximize their utilization towards your plan.
Certainly, spot on. And we just got a visitor to the show. See, Jennifer also mentioned.
I see that.
Let me tell everybody hello. Baba. No, say hello. Baba. It's almost time to wrap up here. We got a few more things to touch on. Jennifer said SWOT method works. Are there any other questions on the Facebook community who's tuned in with us? Jennifer also mentioned a consistent, measurable effort, talking about that SWOT analysis. Evan actually comes in and says that's a great answer, Ed. Exactly what he was looking for. SWOT analysis is by far the best tool for any entity. And I like that, Evan. Add that any entity. Organizations, we do SWOT analysis on the LSBDC. We do SWOT analysis on our institutions of higher education, even on our churches. And of course, small businesses should be utilizing SWOT analysis as well. And if you don't know how, again, contact Louisiana Small Business Development Center, louisianasbdc.org, and get the assistance you need in getting a SWOT analysis conducted. Ed, is there anything else you'd like to add or touch on that we maybe not gotten asked tonight? Certainly, I appreciate your time and your wisdom and expertise, but is there anything else that you would just like to share with a small business owner who has been impacted by COVID and are having challenges navigating financially right now?
I guess I could probably talk for hours about some of this stuff, but I think the thing with, the situation we're in right now, I think that, getting closer to your customer is a really important thing to do right now, and to understand what's going on. And it's not, I don't mean it in the sense that you're patting them on the shoulder and telling them everything's going to be okay. I mean, that may be just part of the conversation, but the reality is understanding what their needs are right now and what is going on. Again, it's not a price discussion. It's about, what services do you need? What's going on there? I have a new client that I have from this CARES Act. It's a lady that's based in South Louisiana, and she did a wonderful pivot because her industry literally got shut completely down. I mean, I can't disclose what industry she's in, but it was because of the meeting situation that was all shut down. It almost completely went away for her. She had resources in terms of her team that she had. It was very talented, and some of the equipment that she had, and she was able to pivot and redirect those same people and same assets towards a different industry. She actually focused on the real estate industry and in one particular area, and was able to provide a value there that really hadn't been seen before. And it turned out to be a pretty decent thing for her. So she's, she didn't just sit around waiting for the government to give her money, or for, for the situation to change back to whatever we think normal is going to be after this is all over with. But she went out and did something about it, and I'm so proud of what I heard her talking about. Now she's asking me for help now because it presents some accounting issues for her, and she wants to be, and I'm helping her with a pricing model so she can make sure that she's pricing those services properly. But she's at least, addressing the market. She's going out there, she's getting some decent contracts, and she's providing the services. And I think that the key to it, she's using that team that she has, and she's keeping those people employed, and she's using a warehouse. She just did a magical job of being able to turn a bad situation into a very positive situation by looking around and figuring out what was possible and being, creative and innovative in that respect. So, don't let this get you down too much. Work on things. Try to make a difference. Get with your customers and figure out what's going on. Talk to your vendors. Get out and circulate at least. I mean, maybe not face to face, but get out and have conversations with people who know what's going on. You can maybe hear some good ideas that are happening in other sectors. It doesn't necessarily mean right in your neighborhood. I'm talking about all over the United States. There are things that are happening, and there are business people who are figuring this out, and they're worth thinking about for sure.
That's a great point, Ed. And typically when companies start, a business owners jump out there, of course, they try and do some survey of their community, of their market, to understand the need and the demand of their services or product. But it's very rare, or, we tend to get so caught up in running the business that we don't go back and look at the needs,
Right.
and care about them, and ask them and survey and assess them, and see, to your point, how can we pivot to better serve you even during this pandemic? Not just to keep our doors open, but to continue to provide impact and value to the community. So, Ed, thank you for those words. If anybody else has a question or comment, feel free to add it right now. We've got a few more minutes, and if not, we'll be going ahead and closing down. Thank you all for your time. Heidi, thank you for tuning in with us this evening. Heidi is our Center Director at the LSBDC at University of Louisiana Lafayette. She says, thanks for organizing. Our clients are getting so much value from Ed's services. Jennifer is still with us as well, saying the LSBDC delivers on walking with business owners. That's certainly true. We're so passionate about it. We're not just setting you up to let you stand on your own, but so that you can continue to utilize our services, not just at the start, not just in the middle, but as your business continues to thrive on for generations. And Jennifer, we appreciate you as well for tuning in with us. And we ask again that you just share and continue to spread the word about this question and answer. And then we see Evan Boudreau comes in again. A silver lining with COVID was really encouraging business owners to explore those new conversations. Definitely something that needs to be encouraged moving forward. Thank you, Ed and the LSBDC. Thank you, Evan, and St. Mary's Parish Economic Development, and all you all do generating economic development and small business growth there. However, we can continue to collaborate and support your mission and vision. Please reach out and let's collaborate. Certainly appreciate you. Ed, is there anything else you'd like to say as we close out?
Give us a call. We're here to help you. It's pretty
Awesome.
easy. Go to the Louisiana.sbdc.org site, and you can click on the CARES Act consultant thing over there, or you can get with your local Small Business Development Center, and they can direct you to us. There's 6 of us out here ready to help you. We're busy, but we can always take somebody else on. So come see us. We'll get you some help for sure. And it's customized to your situation, and it's on your schedule, and so we try to accommodate you as best we possibly can, and get you some real help. And I think we're making some changes in some businesses of pretty good consequence right now. I met with one today, and we're really helping her ramp up her accounting and getting it going. She really wants it bad, and that's always great to have the client who wants it and really gets the fact that this help is pretty valuable to her. So come see us. We're here.
Awesome. Definitely. Louisiana Small Business Development Center. Come see us and let us help you build your business back. LouisianaSBDC.org. You all have a great night. Again, thank you, Ed, for your time and your wisdom and expertise. You all have a good night. Thank you.